I am. And so goes that I am the wonder of the universe, the rise of the morning sun and the glow of the full moon. And because the divine radiance of all that is at the center of me, I am the elixir the world so desperately needs. The strength of my step, one foot in front of the other, is the strength of that all of history. Behind me, moving all the world toward freedom. The entire universe shouting, yes, ma'am, yes! The badass that I am gives herself to herself again and again. Because all that I ever need to know, I know. All that I need, I have. All that I am. And I make myself known. This is my call. I shout myself out, I sing myself out, I write myself down, and I sweet nothing myself into your ear. I am. The very expression of I am builds all the bridges we will ever need, connecting us all forever and always one.
Hello, I am Reverend Amani Malaika. I am so glad you are watching today. We have been thrilled to reach thousands over this last year through our online inspirational content. I am so excited about Spirit Speaks. I am so excited about all that our team is doing to transform the lives of people around the world. And I invite you to join us by supporting this work. You can text to give, the instructions are on the screen, and I am so grateful for every contribution you make. Thank you. Emma Curtis Hopkins, who is the mother of the New Thought movement, who birthed really the US movement that we find ourselves living out now. And she wrote this, I believe, in the early 1900s, and her version was called The Radiant I Am. And I thought, you know what? If she knew all the way back then, the great I am was hers to claim, and not only hers to claim, but hers to start an incredible multi-generational movement across nations, then we all get to claim ourselves as the radiant and badass I am. One of the favorite quotes of mine from Ernest Holmes is, love points the way, law makes the way possible. Favorite. And the only way we begin to really embody that truth and step into that truth is to understand that that love that is pointing the way and the law that is making the way happen, those principles, those truths live in us, and they live as us. And what is this difference between spirit in me and spirit as me? And what it means is that spirit had a divine idea, and that idea is you. In all your glory, and all your badassery, and all your radiance. And there is no other like you. Spirit as you can never be the same as spirit as me, or her, or him, or them. This spirit as me is this opportunity to be the embodiment of all that spirit is in your gorgeous, unique, U-shaped way. Nobody else can do it. And here is the bummer and the good news. When you bring the wholeness that you are, the badass that you are, the radiance that you are, the uniqueness that you are, you bring more God to this planet. Flip side of that, when you hide yourself and diminish yourself and shrink yourself and limit yourself, you diminish the presence of God on this planet. That's a bummer. Like, it really bums me out when I think about the ways that we shrink ourselves or hide ourselves or keep ourselves from life. Because one of my great desires in this life is to see as much of God in all the ways God shows up as I can. So if you're not bringing it, I'm missing it. And you are the only one who can bring you to life. And I want to know that part of God. I want to see how God shows up as you. There's no other person who can show me that except you. And I will also offer is that as we move down this path of transformation, discovering that Spirit is in me, and holy cow, Spirit's in me, then wow, my uniqueness, all that I am, is this totally unique expression of the Holy Blessed One. Whoa! And only you can be Spirit as you, and only I can be Spirit as me. And I think it's a pretty brilliant design. We would be really bored if it all looked the same and tasted the same and felt the same and smelled the same. Yuck! We have this incredible opportunity in our aliveness, in this life we share together. We have an opportunity to show God off. We have this opportunity to paint with all the colors that ever could possibly be. We have this opportunity to taste life in all of the ways that it shows up. We have an opportunity to breathe in a new moment in every breath. Wow, when I think about the abundance available in that, in all the ways that God shows up. And I feel like I have barely gotten to have a drop of what God is. I mean, just barely a drop. And so it is one of my great callings in life to encourage each of us to show up fully and wholly. Because I don't want to miss out. It's a little selfish. But I want to know all there is to know about you as God. I want to know God in all the ways that I possibly can, which means we all need to show up in our wholeness, in our complete totality, in our badassery, radiant as we each are. And in order to do that, requires a little self-awareness. Requires us to kind of know ourselves. Am I showing up as fear, or am I showing up as my wholeness? Am I showing up as limitation? Am I showing up as an old story? Am I showing up as a misbelief? A misunderstanding? And nobody can answer that question for you but you. But are you asking those questions? And here is the place I would say we must begin on this second step of our pathway, Spirit as me. We must begin the Spirit as me work by really committing ourselves and deeply diving into awareness, self-awareness. Awareness, aka consciousness. We like to speak in spiritual ways in these communities, and we're going to raise our consciousness and expand our consciousness, which is fancy talk for you got to get to know yourself. You need to become aware of what's actually happening in your consciousness. And that work is some deep work sometimes. And before we begin that work, I want to ask you a couple of things. Why? Why do you want to become self-aware? Why do you want to become more conscious? What is your motivation? What is your intention in this transformative work? Are you in it to fix yourself? You in it to be better? You in it to change who you are, to be more acceptable and likable or valuable? Because that motivation, that intention is going to be your first stumbling block to awareness. If you are willing, that's part B of preparing to do the work of Spirit as me, is to get willing to sit in your own stuff. And maybe that first stuff you got to sit in is, ooh, I really want to fix myself. I think there's something wrong with me, and I'm going to do all this spiritual work so I can be better and more likable or cooler or just a good spiritual person, and that people like me. Sit in that. Doing spiritual work does not make you likable. Sometimes it's quite the opposite. So if you're in this to be liked, there's such easier ways. But sit with it. Are you willing to sit with yourself with these questions? Willingness and intention. Be willing first to understand where you're coming from, what's motivating you to do this work. And whatever you come up with, sit with that. Breathe into that. Okay, I'm feeling like I really just want to know God, or I really want to know more. There's so much I don't understand, and I can feel that there's something more. Okay. That's a great place to be motivated from as you move into this next step. Where are you coming from, and are you willing to sit with yourself in all of it? And in that self-awareness, what gets to begin to happen is self-awareness becomes awareness. Life awareness. Abraham Joshua Heschel has my favorite description of what it means to pray. And he says, learning to see the world from God's point of view. So as we commit and get clear about where we're coming from around our self-awareness, around our desire to know ourselves as God, we've got to dive into the practices that go with that growing awareness. How do we become more aware of ourselves, of life? Well, one of those ways is prayer. But not prayer to make some stuff happen. Not prayer to manifest the boyfriend, the house, the money, the blah blah. But prayer for the purpose of seeing God's point of view. One of my prayers for us often is, wow, how I would love for you to see yourself the way that I see you when I've got my God glasses on. How I would love for you to know yourself as God. Prayer is one of the ways we get to begin to do that. And I love the way we pray in Science of Mind. We've got these steps. I'm not going to get all up in the steps today, but you can take classes. You can come talk to me or any practitioner, learn more about the steps. But what is important about affirmative prayer, the prayer that we teach, is that we are affirming what is so. We are recognizing the oneness, the Holy Blessed One is omnipresent in all the places at all the times. And because that is true, that one is in me and as me, in you as you. And I'm going to affirm this truth to such a degree that I begin to know that it's real, that I begin to experience it as real. That's why we pray. So that we can change and expand our awareness of spiritual truth. So that we can see through God's eyes. Because God's eyes are in our face right now. As your eyes, as my eyes. Holy baloney. This is why we pray. And we meditate. We get still. There are 52 bazillion ways to do meditation and stillness. But what I particularly want to offer to you is get still and turn your attention within and get to know the gorgeous creature that is God as you. And here's the deal. You can meditate all the ways that you want to meditate because nobody's the boss of your spiritual practice. But what I know about meditation that allows us to be in the spirit as me work, meditating on yourself is really important. Less of the guided stuff, less of the focus on a flame stuff. That's all lovely, and do it if it serves you. But if you want to experience spirit as you, meditate on you. Bring your attention within. Feel what it feels like to be God as you. In only the unique and beautiful, gorgeous way that you can. And thirdly, the spirit as me work. We study. We study all the teachings. We study all the ways of understanding this idea through all the other world's teachings that teach this idea, because they all do in some form or fashion. And that is important because you are going to recognize yourself in those studies. You don't read them to educate yourself on somebody else's idea. Not in spirit as me work. In spirit as me work, we study so that we can see ourselves in these teachings, in these writings, in these sacred texts. Because what I will tell you is guaranteed you will find yourself there. You may find yourself in places you would have never guessed. Can't tell you how many times I find myself in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible. Astounding. You couldn't have told me 20 years ago that the Bible had anything for me. Lo and behold, because I understand now that God is as me, of course, anybody talking about God, we may have some stuff to say to one another. And wow, Well, looky there, Job. You and me have had some shared experiences. I found myself in that book. I find myself in the Sufi mystic writings. I find myself a lot in the Sufi mystic writings. I find myself a lot, especially in the women who are writing from the native tradition. And I wouldn't have those reflections if I wasn't studying. So study. Go look for yourself in those sacred texts. You will find yourself there. You will read something that is true, that is going to spin in you, that maybe you hadn't had a fully conscious understanding of yet, and then you're going to read it and you're going to be like, wow, I know that to be true. I can feel that in my whole being. So that is why we study in the Spirit as Me work. We study, we get quiet, we get still, we turn within, we meditate, and we pray. And we pray for the purpose of growing and transforming our consciousness. Or seeing through God's lens. The last thing we need to do in this Spirit as Me work, which is really what I opened with, is self-celebration. We're going to do the self-awareness work. We're going to recognize ourselves out in the world and in the sacred texts. We are going to sit with the hard stuff. We are going to know what our motivation and intention is. And we are going to celebrate who we find in here. And from Danielle Laporte, she talks about this work of self-awareness, and she says, keep looking, listening, and loving. Your radiance will astound you. Keep looking, keep listening to yourself, keep loving yourself. Your radiance will astound you. Or in my translation, your badassery will astound you. And so it is.